ready to go with Media Watch. Europe's been focusing on the events unfolding at that summit in Salzburg. But of course, there, it was Brexit on the menu.
Yes, absolutely, and not too many people seemed too impressed with what was being dished up. Less than 6 months away now, Brexit, and opinion still as divided as ever, and patience seems to be wearing thin with the British Prime Minister, who is sticking solidly to her Chequers plan. This photograph being used very widely in the media, shared online too, and really it's kind of illustrating just where Theresa May stands in Europe, very much on the sidelines, facing a different direction to everybody else. And it's also very interesting to note just how few women there are in the upper echelons in Europe right now. Ian Bremer tweeting this image as well from today. Brexit summarised. Theresa May struggling to find her place in the group photograph at the summit in Salzburg. It's interesting to note as well that France seems to be having some strong words on the issue of Brexit right now. This is today's front page of Libération. It is a focus on the Ireland problem of Brexit. Their headline is "Tomorrow a Single Ireland," because it's one of the thorniest issues really that Brexit has to deal with. Northern Ireland, part of the UK, will be leaving Europe. The rest of Ireland will stay in Europe. So what happens with the border between the two? And that is one of the insoluble issues really when it comes to Brexit. Now, another very strong message coming from France came from the French President Emmanuel Macron. He said Brexit is the choice of the British people, pushed by those who predicted easy solutions. Those people are liars. They left the next day, so they didn't have to manage it.
Liars?
Very strong words, unusually strong, I think it's fair to say, in political and diplomatic circles. A lot of people thinking that mainly he's talking about Nigel Farage, but there are many people who...
Boris Johnson.
Yes, absolutely, who have tried to sell the idea of Brexit as a great success for the United Kingdom, but are no longer in positions of political power. It's interesting to see how people have reacted to this too. The Times' Ian Martin says Napoleon's at it again, obviously not too impressed with Emmanuel Macron, while Stig Abel says not an entirely untrue piece of analysis. He's a journalist and commentator in the UK. The Express, which is very much a Brexit campaigning newspaper on the right in the UK, showing their outrage with the use of some capital letters. Brexiteers are liars. Macron takes huge swipe at those who push the UK into leaving the EU. Now, there were some strong words too from Donald Tusk, the president of the European Commission, and interesting to note that on Instagram he has 58,000 followers. That came as something of a surprise. Now, he has said the Chequers deal, the one that Theresa May is pushing, is dead. And interestingly, this is what he shared with his followers this morning. A piece of cake, perhaps? Sorry, no cherries. Because, of course, he has accused Theresa May of trying to cherry-pick the best things out of
He's
Europe.
got a sense of humour, Mr. Tusk.
Well, apparently, although the rest of his feed is not terribly exciting, that seems to be the highlight. One area where Europe does seem to be in agreement right now is that most of the EU leaders seem to believe there should be a second referendum on Brexit. Now, Theresa May has ruled that out. But the thing I find interesting in particular is that there isn't really a campaign for a second referendum. There is a campaign for a people's vote, which is on whatever Brexit deal comes out. The final illustration, really, of Brexit is this one, I think, for me. Somebody selling this as a good idea, a melon slicer, and that is the result.
I think that kind of sums it up as an image. Now then, Emma never shaken and never stirred. She now turns her eye to James Bond movie buffs having a reason to be excited. Tell us why.
Yes, absolutely.
James Bond.
The question that we've all wanted answered since Danny Boyle decided to walk away from the James Bond project, Bond 25, is who will direct the next movie. Now we know it's going to be Cary Fukunaga, who will be in the hot seat for the 20th movie of the franchise. The name's Fukunaga. A lot of people a bit worried about having to say that on air, me included. I have been practicing. He's an American. He's half Japanese. I wasn't expecting that, Mr. Bond, says this gentleman. A lot of people caught by surprise. Bookmakers William Hill said not a single person placed a bet on that gentleman being the next director. Esquire magazine, though, tells us all about why, if we haven't heard of him before, we've been missing out. He directed the first series of True Detective. He did the movie Beasts of No Nation, and his latest Netflix offering is actually available to watch tomorrow on download. So Maniac, I'm sure, is going to get a lot more attention. But the thing that people are talking about is because he directed Beasts of No Nation, will we see a Bond in future bearing a resemblance to this gentleman? Idris Elba, the star of that movie, lots of people hoping it'll be the case. It'll be Daniel Craig next time round, we know that. That movie will be out Valentine's Day 2020, but a lot of people hoping that the next Bond will indeed be the British actor Idris Elba. You better, Cary, you better.
Emma James from the Idris Elba fan club there and Media Watch, thank you very much for joining us. Kate, I suspect, also voting Idris Elba for the next James Bond. She's got a big thumbs up on that one, and what can I say other than do stay with us more? You should come here live from Paris.